lot of times people, they're not sure if a computer just made the whole thing and you just pushed a button. Ultimately, I hope that the work shows inherently that there's human behind it, and that it has like a connection, and an emotional response can be had. Part of what I do when I started working was that I wanted to make work that could easily cross over to different platforms and be easily kind of transmitted that way and seen. But ultimately, I prefer the bigger immersive screen projection or theater kind of setting. When I got back into working with animation for my own films and things, I started with this. I had basic computer skills, and this one I was using a lot of drawn animation and layering, basically using the computer to composite the drawn animation. So it's primarily old techniques of animation. Ideally, the project takes you in different ways. The way I like working is when I start with an idea and I just can start working and see where it takes me, and it takes its own life, and then it's just a matter of trying to figure out when it feels done. Most of the time it feels like it comes to a point. I like making work that has a, kind of the arc of a narrative. A lot of times what musicians and other artists were doing were taking an instrument or making it perform in crazy ways, in ways that it wasn't meant to be. After just doing straight hand animation, I started to try to overload these loops so that it started to break apart. It was just pixelized, but it was something that would then have this kind of organic form. And that was just through After Effects and these programs. At the same time, I got really interested in the popular video codec, DivX. If you don't get the whole file in, then a lot of times it can't reference where the keyframes are supposed to be, so it breaks apart. Part of the thing I enjoy working with technology and animation and video is just the ability to experiment with process, experiment across the board. There's so much you can experiment with all the time. And so I like to do that. I feel like I'm the most creative when I'm experimenting that way. It's very difficult right now. If you're doing a traditional animation, you still have to do a lot of the work. The most exciting thing to me that I see developing is a more natural ability for technology and a computer to assist you with work. I try to make it so that the computer, as I'm working with it, as I'm working, outside of the original sketches or ideas, then I can have things happen that are unexpected and kind of take it in different ways. The nice thing about when someone else tapes it or something like that is that it shows that it's a representation of this work that's somewhere else, and it's not, the work itself isn't supposed to be seen necessarily on, a YouTube screen or, on a small monitor. And the challenge for me is figuring out how to represent my work.